When Karen yelled that I didn't belong in first class, I smiled, because I already knew she was about to get herself kicked off this plane. She had no idea I was the one she shouldn't have messed with, the Federal Air Marshal sitting right next to her. The terminal buzzed with the kind of restless energy that only airports can create. Hundreds of lives colliding for a few fleeting hours before scattering again. Announcements echoed through the speakers, calling out flight numbers and gate changes, while the smell of burnt coffee and jet fuel mixed in the air. Ethan Cole stood at gate C-17, ticket in one hand, black carry-on in the other. He wore plain jeans, a fitted gray jacket, and a neutral expression that blended him perfectly into the crowd. To everyone else, he was just another passenger waiting to board. But hidden inside his jacket was a badge, the kind you didn't show unless you had to. Ethan, one flight, one mission. Keep quiet. Stay invisible. He took a deep breath and glanced at the departure screen. Flight 372, Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles. Boarding in 10 minutes. This wasn't just another assignment. Intelligence had flagged a possible suspect traveling under a false identity, someone connected to a weapons smuggling ring. And Ethan's job was to make sure that person didn't make it to L.A. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin pre-boarding for Flight 372. A voice chirped over the speaker. The line formed fast, first-class passengers up front, everyone else trailing behind. That's when she appeared. A sharp voice cut through the chatter like a knife. Excuse me. I paid for priority boarding. This is ridiculous. Heads turned. A woman in her mid-40s marched toward the gate agent, holding her designer handbag like a weapon. Her nails were long, painted crimson red, and her sunglasses were the kind that screamed, "I'm better than you." The gate agent smiled politely. "Ma'am, we're just boarding Group A now." "I am Group A," she interrupted, eyes narrowing. "And I'm not standing in line behind them." Ethan glanced up from his phone. He didn't know who they were supposed to mean, but he already knew what kind of person she was. Karen, the gate agent, visibly flustered, just nodded. "Of course, ma'am. Please, go ahead." Karen strutted past the other passengers, chin high, perfume trailing behind like a warning sign. When boarding began, Ethan followed quietly. He stepped into first class, scanning faces, not looking at people but through them, assessing body language, scanning for tells. His eyes caught a man in a black hoodie sitting near the back of the section. No luggage, no phone, staring straight ahead. Ethan's instincts tingled. Ethan, possible mark. Stay sharp. Before he could think further, a loud sigh erupted beside him. Karen was standing in the aisle, arms crossed, glaring at the seat number printed on her ticket. "Karen, you've got to be kidding me." "Flight attendant, is there a problem, ma'am?" "Karen, you sat me next to him?" Ethan blinked. "Excuse me." "Karen, you heard me. I specifically asked for a seat away from noise. No offense, but you don't look like first-class material." The flight attendant's jaw tightened. "Ma'am, all seats are assigned. Please, take your seat so we can continue boarding." Ethan just gave a polite nod and sat down. He'd dealt with worse than entitled passengers. Armed criminals, violent smugglers, near-death turbulence. But somehow, Karen had a special kind of energy. Minutes later, the cabin filled up. The soft hum of engines grew louder. Karen muttered complaints under her breath about people who dress like economy passengers and the downfall of airline standards. Ethan ignored her, adjusting the seatbelt and slipping an earpiece into his ear. A faint voice crackled through. "Control. Eagle 1, confirm seating. Target possible in first class row 3C. Ethan, copy. I'm in 3A. Visual contact established." He leaned back slightly, pretending to check his phone, eyes drifting toward the man in 3C. The suspect's hands were steady, too steady. Every trained instinct in Ethan told him this was no ordinary traveler. Karen, meanwhile, was tapping her nails on the armrest, impatient. "Do they ever serve the champagne on time?" "Ethan, I'd take turbulence over this any day." The flight attendant came by with a tray of drinks. Ethan took a bottle of water. Karen snatched a glass of champagne, took one sip, and frowned. "Karen, ugh. Warm. First class used to mean something." The attendant gave a practiced smile and moved on. Ethan turned toward the window, but Karen wasn't done. "Karen, so what do you do? Let me guess, tech support? Or an influencer?" "Ethan, government work." "Karen, the taxpayer-funded vacation type. Must be nice." He forced a small smile. Something like that. A few rows ahead, the suspect shifted slightly, glancing over his shoulder. Ethan's muscles tightened. The man opened the overhead bin, checking something wrapped in a gray jacket. Ethan, that's no carry-on. Karen suddenly spoke again. Karen. Excuse me, flight attendant. I think this man's making me uncomfortable. Every head nearby turned. Ethan froze. The suspect was watching now too. Flight attendant. Ma'am, please lower your voice. Karen. I'm serious. He keeps looking around. It's suspicious. Ethan smiled calmly, masking the tension coiled beneath his skin. Just trying to get comfortable, ma'am. Karen. Well, try harder. The intercom crackled. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been cleared for takeoff. Please fasten your seatbelts. As the engines roared to life, Ethan leaned back, forcing himself to breathe. Karen muttered something about unprofessional passengers. The man in 3C kept his eyes forward. And Ethan knew, before this flight landed, something would go very, very wrong. Ethan, when you fly for a living, you learn to tell the difference between turbulence and danger. And this flight, it had both written all over it. The plane leveled off somewhere above the clouds, sunlight cutting through the windows like golden streaks across polished metal. That quiet moment when everyone finally settles in. Seatbelts unclick, headphones go on, and flight attendants begin their silent ballet through the aisle. For Ethan Cole, it was supposed to be the calm before the storm. He sipped his water, pretending to scroll through flight info, while his other hand, hidden beneath the folded blanket, stayed close to the small badge clipped inside his jacket. He wasn't paranoid. He was prepared. Across the aisle, the man in seat 3C reached under his jacket again, fingers brushing the zipper of his duffel bag. Ethan's eyes flicked toward him just long enough to memorize the motion. Then he looked away. Ethan thought not yet. Wait for confirmation. And that's when the voice of chaos made its return. Karen, excuse me. I specifically requested a window seat. This is not a window seat. The flight attendant, the same one who had barely survived round 1, hurried over. Attendant, ma'am, this is a window seat. Karen, no, it's a half-window seat. There's a plastic divider cutting off my view. How am I supposed to see the Grand Canyon from here? Ethan pressed his lips together to hide a smile. Ethan, if the Grand Canyon was under these clouds, we'd have bigger problems. The attendant smiled politely, again. I'm sorry, ma'am, but there are no open seats left. Karen's tone sharpened like broken glass. Karen, then move him. She jabbed a manicured finger in Ethan's direction. The entire cabin turned to look. Ethan glanced up, calm but alert. Ethan, I'm fine right here, thanks. Karen, well, I'm not. This man's been fidgeting and looking around the cabin. It's suspicious. Ethan's patience was beginning to wear thin. Just nervous flying, he said evenly. You know how turbulence gets. Karen, oh please. I can tell when someone's lying. I've watched every episode of Criminal Minds. The flight attendant nearly laughed. Nearly, but caught herself in time. Attendant, ma'am, please lower your voice. Karen, I will not. There are safety standards on planes for a reason. People like him shouldn't even be up here. The words hung heavy in the air. People like him. Ethan exhaled slowly through his nose. He'd heard it all before, too many times. From people who assumed, who judged, who thought money or class made them better. He forced a smile. I'll try not to lower the property value of your seat. A few nearby passengers chuckled. Karen turned crimson. Karen, unbelievable. The disrespect these days. She pressed her call button like she was firing a flare. The light above blinked red. The lead flight attendant came over, her calm smile a mask trained by thousands of air miles. Lead attendant, is there a problem? Karen, yes, there's a problem. I don't feel safe sitting next to this man. Ethan raised his hands slightly, palms open. Ma'am, if it helps, He stopped himself. He wasn't supposed to say it. Not unless there was real danger. The attendant sighed. Sir, would you be willing to move to another seat? Ethan looked her in the eye, then glanced past her, to the man in 3C, who had just zipped up his bag again. Ethan, no, I think I'll stay right here. The attendant nodded slowly, sensing something deeper, but choosing not to ask. Understood. Thank you. Karen scoffed, whispering under her breath. Typical. Probably doesn't even belong here. The rest of the cabin settled back into silence. Movies flickered on screens, the hum of engines filled the background, and a faint smell of reheated pasta drifted through the air. But Ethan wasn't relaxing. He caught a glimpse of the man in 3C again, now glancing toward the lavatory, checking his watch. Something was happening. Ethan, control, this is Eagle 1. Passenger 3C is active. Requesting facial recon check. Control, copy. Stand by. While waiting, Ethan glanced to his left. Karen was recording a video on her phone. Karen, this is absolutely outrageous. I'm documenting everything. If anything happens on this flight, the airline's getting sued. Ethan's jaw tightened. You might want to keep that phone down. Karen, excuse me? I have rights. Ethan, and I have a job. Her eyes narrowed. A job? Oh, what are you? Some kind of secret agent. Ethan didn't respond. Just looked ahead. The silence said more than words ever could. For the first time, she hesitated. Something in his eyes, calm, watchful, quietly dangerous, made her sit back in her seat. A few minutes later, the voice in Ethan's earpiece returned. Control, Eagle 1, positive ID. Target confirmed. Prior record, arms trafficking, high risk. Maintain cover until further instruction. Ethan's pulse steadied. Everything around him, the chatter, the drinks, the movies, faded to static. All he could hear now was his breathing and the steady rhythm of his heart. Karen's voice broke the focus again. Karen, excuse me, flight attendant. Can I get a refill? This champagne is flat. The attendant smiled thinly. Of course, ma'am. As she walked away, Ethan leaned slightly forward. The suspect in 3C stood up. Slowly, calmly, he reached into his jacket pocket. Ethan's right hand moved instantly, just a slight motion toward his badge. But before anything else could happen, Karen, sir, you can't get up. The seatbelt sign is on. Every head turned. The man froze, caught mid-motion. Ethan saw it, a flash of metal inside the jacket. A weapon. Time slowed. Ethan rose in one fluid motion, stepping past Karen, voice deep and commanding. Ethan, Federal Air Marshal. Hands where I can see them. Gasps rippled through the cabin. The suspect's eyes widened, panic. He turned toward the aisle, but Ethan was faster. With one swift move, Ethan tackled him against the seat, pinning his arm. The gun clattered to the floor. Screams filled the air. Karen, I told you he was suspicious. I told you. Ethan cuffed the suspect, breathing hard. Congratulations, ma'am. Your instincts were right, just for the wrong person. The lead flight attendant, pale but steady, rushed forward. Is he? Ethan, secured. Call the captain. Tell him it's handled. The cabin was silent now, except for the distant hum of engines. Karen sat frozen, champagne glass trembling in her hand. Karen, you're really an air marshal? Ethan glanced at her, voice calm but firm. Ethan, next time, maybe think before judging people in first class. He turned, checked his badge, and sat back down. Outside the window, the endless blue stretched forever, peaceful, like nothing had ever happened. But for everyone on that flight, including Karen, nothing would ever feel quite the same again. The cabin was silent for a full 30 seconds after Ethan pinned the suspect down. Only the deep hum of the engines filled the air, vibrating through the metal shell of the plane like a slow heartbeat. Then, everything happened at once. A child started crying. Someone shouted for a doctor. And Karen, of course, grabbed her phone and screamed. Karen, everyone stay calm. I'm recording for evidence. Ethan turned, voice low but sharp. Ethan, put the phone down, ma'am. Karen, what? I have every right. Ethan, now. The look in his eyes made her freeze. She lowered the phone, hands shaking. The flight attendants rushed over with zip ties and blankets. Ethan secured the suspect's hands, checked his pulse, and reached for the intercom. Ethan, Captain, this is Federal Air Marshal Cole. Suspect detained. We need to confirm emergency procedures, possible accomplices on board. A crackling voice came back through the intercom. Captain, copy that. You're in control of the cabin, Marshal. Do you suspect more than one? Ethan, not sure yet. I'll sweep the rows. He stood, scanning the cabin. The man in 3C, now cuffed, glared up at him, fury in his eyes but silent. Something about that silence didn't sit right with Ethan. People like this never acted alone. Karen leaned closer, whispering like a gossip reporter in a scandal. Karen, You think there's another one? Ethan, stay seated. Karen, I can help. I have very sharp instincts. Ethan, ma'am, the best help you can give me is silence. She gasped, clutching her pearls as if insulted by the universe itself. Karen, well, I never. Ethan, maybe that's the problem. Ethan moved down the aisle slowly, eyes darting across passengers, checking body language. A man with sunglasses shifted uncomfortably. A woman covered a duffel bag with her blanket. But nothing obvious. Then he saw it. Row 12, left side. A man in a brown jacket tapping his leg too rhythmically, like a signal. Ethan's instincts lit up like a flare. He reached for his comm. Ethan, control, this is Eagle 1. Possible secondary in row 12, left. Need confirmation. Control, standby. Matching. Confirmed. Secondary suspect identified as Adam Reyes, known associate of the first target. Ethan's heart rate stayed steady. He started walking casually, blending in with the attendants collecting trash. But then, Karen stood up. Karen, excuse me, but I knew it. That man back there is acting weird. I can feel it in my bones. Every head turned. Ethan froze. The man in the brown jacket looked up, startled, locking eyes with Karen. Karen, yes, you. Don't pretend you don't hear me. Ethan cursed under his breath. The suspect stood up fast, grabbing his carry-on. Ethan, everyone down. Chaos exploded like a thunderclap. The man yanked something from his bag, metal glinting in the dim cabin light. Passengers screamed. Ethan lunged forward, shoving Karen out of the way as the man swung the weapon. The sound that followed wasn't a gunshot. It was the click of a canister being armed. A small silver device rolled down the aisle, hissing smoke. Karen, he has a bomb. Ethan dove, snatching the canister mid-roll, his instincts faster than thought. He twisted the top, yanked a pin free, and jammed his thumb against the release valve. The hissing stopped. A decoy, a pressure distractor, not explosive. Still, the cabin was in full panic. Ethan, everyone stay seated. Hands visible. The suspect bolted down the aisle toward the galley, shoving people aside. Ethan chased, muscles tense, every step shaking the floor. He tackled the man near the emergency exit door. The two struggled, fists, elbows, chaos, until Ethan drove a knee into the suspect's ribs, forcing him down. Ethan, you're done. The man spat blood, sneering. Suspect, you think you stopped it? That one line froze Ethan. Ethan, what did you say? The man laughed, breathless. Wrong bag. Ethan's stomach dropped. He turned instantly toward the cabin, scanning the overhead bins. Karen was already standing again, holding something shiny in her hands. Karen, excuse me. Someone left this weird metal briefcase by my seat. Should I open it? Ethan, no, don't move. He sprinted down the aisle as time seemed to slow. Karen blinked, confused. Karen, I was just trying to help. Ethan reached her, grabbed the case, and flipped it open just enough to see wires and a blinking red light. His heart pounded. Ethan, this is Eagle 1, confirmed explosive device on board. Initiating protocol Charlie 3. Control, copy that. Neutralize and secure. Captain's aware. Karen sat frozen, hands trembling. Karen, is that really a bomb? Ethan, it's not a toy. Karen, oh my God, I was holding it. Ethan, yes, ma'am. Please stop doing that. He laid the briefcase carefully on the seat, analyzing it. The design was crude, not a professional bomb, but dangerous enough. 2 pressure triggers, 1 motion sensor, 1 LED timer blinking faintly. Ethan, homemade. Amateurs with ambition. Karen's breathing was ragged. Karen, you can disarm that, right? Ethan, I've done worse. Karen, that's not very reassuring. The cabin was still chaos behind them. The detained suspects were zip-tied, passengers whispered prayers, and the flight attendants waited for Ethan's signal. He took a slow breath, eyes locked on the briefcase. Ethan, Dad always said fear's just the mind trying to do math too fast. Breathe slower. He pulled a small toolkit from his jacket pocket, flipping it open. Wire cutters. A small screwdriver. 2 steady hands. Karen, you really are some kind of action hero, huh? Ethan, just a guy trying to make sure you get your champagne on the ground. Karen, oh, I don't even like champagne anymore. He smirked slightly, tension meeting humor in the same breath. The light blinked faster now. Beep, beep. Beep. Ethan, everyone stay still. Nobody moves. He traced the wires, blue, red, yellow, then saw it. The decoy wire looped to a hidden switch. A trap. He reached under carefully, clipped the bypass, and turned the valve. The beeping slowed, then stopped. A deep, heavy silence filled the cabin. Ethan exhaled. Ethan, all clear. Applause broke out, soft at first, then louder. The relief was almost dizzying. Karen wiped her eyes. Karen, I'm sorry for everything I said earlier. Ethan looked at her, tired but kind. Ethan, apology accepted, ma'am. Just don't record the next flight, all right? She laughed through the tears. Deal. As the plane descended toward safety, the captain's voice echoed overhead. Captain, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank our onboard Federal Air Marshal for ensuring everyone's safety. Please remain seated for landing. Ethan leaned back, looking out the window. The sun was setting over the clouds, gold melting into blue. A strange calm filled his chest. Karen looked over, voice soft now. Karen, you really never know who's sitting next to you, do you? Ethan smiled. Ethan, that's kind of the point. The engines roared as they began to descend. The danger was over, but for Ethan Cole, the story was only beginning. The plane touched down with a hard jolt, tires screeching against the tarmac. Passengers gasped, then broke into applause, half in gratitude, half in sheer relief. Ethan stayed still. He'd done this enough times to know the real danger didn't always end when the wheels hit the ground. As the aircraft taxied toward the gate, the cabin lights flickered back on. Karen sat stiffly beside him, mascara slightly smudged, fingers twisting the hem of her designer scarf. Karen, whispering, is it over? Ethan, for now. Karen, I still can't believe it. I was sitting next to the guy who tried to hijack the plane. Ethan, you weren't the only one in danger, ma'am. But you helped. He paused, a small smirk tugging at his mouth. Ethan, just not in the way you think. Karen blinked, unsure if that was a compliment or not. The captain's voice broke through the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. Law enforcement will be boarding shortly to assist with an ongoing investigation. A murmur rippled through the cabin. Outside, red and blue lights flashed against the rain-speckled windows. FBI, Homeland Security, Airfield Police. Ethan stood, flashing his badge for the first time in full view. Gasps spread down the aisle like dominoes. Karen, wait, you're really an air marshal? Ethan, I wasn't kidding about the government job. Karen, oh my God, and I told you you didn't look like first-class material. Ethan, yeah, I remember. The flight attendants smiled faintly as he moved to the front. The detained suspects were escorted off in cuffs, heads bowed. One of them, the man from 3C, looked back at Ethan with a cold glare that carried a promise. This isn't over. As the passengers deboard, Karen lingered near the gate, clutching her phone. She hesitated, then called out. Karen, hey, Agent, Cole. He turned. Ethan's fine. Karen, I might have posted part of the incident online. He frowned. Part. Karen, okay, most of it. I didn't know you were you at the time. But don't worry, it's already blowing up. Over 2 million views. Ethan's heart sank. You recorded during a federal operation? Karen, I didn't know it was a federal operation. I thought it was just content. Ethan, Karen, don't worry. I blurred everyone's faces. Except yours. Ethan's expression went flat. Ethan, of course you did. Hours later, in the airport's dim security office, Ethan sat across from a supervisor reviewing incident footage. Multiple angles, body cams, passenger clips, and yes, Karen's viral video now looping silently on a monitor. The comments section was a circus. This guy's a real-life hero. Air marshals still exist. Karen almost got everyone killed skull, the way he disarmed that bomb like it's a Tuesday loudly crying face fire. Supervisor, you did good, Cole. Saved a flight full of civilians, exposed a smuggling attempt, and neutralized 2 suspects. Ethan, and went viral in the process. Supervisor, that part wasn't your fault. Though I have to admit, PR loves you right now. He didn't smile. He wasn't built for fame. For people like him, anonymity was armor. And now it is gone. Meanwhile, in the terminal, Karen was surrounded by reporters. Microphones. Cameras. The chaos she secretly lived for. Reporter, you were on flight 372 when the attack happened, correct? Karen, yes. It was terrifying, but I kept filming. I wanted to show people the truth. Reporter, and the air marshal saved everyone? Karen, oh, absolutely. Though I did warn everyone first. You could say I sensed trouble. The clip cut to her interview across social media with captions like, "Meet the woman who caught a mid-air takedown live." Of course, the comments weren't kind. This lady caused half the problem. She's lucky that Marshall didn't throw her out mid-flight. She tried to steal the spotlight from a literal hero loudly crying face. By evening, Karen's account had been flooded. Millions of views, thousands of angry comments, and memes everywhere. Back in his hotel, Ethan scrolled through the chaos. His photo, from Karen's video, was plastered across every news site. He closed the tab. Ethan, one viral clip, and suddenly everyone's an expert on heroism. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You stopped too. There's still one more. A friend." He stared at it, the glow of the screen reflecting in his eyes. The words weren't random. They were code. Whoever sent it knew the case wasn't finished. Ethan. So it wasn't just a smuggling op, it was a test. Meanwhile, Karen was having her own reality check. Her phone buzzed nonstop, calls from journalists, sponsors, even a few Karen redemption talk shows. But when she finally looked up from the screen, she saw her reflection in the airport window. Tired, messy, small. For the first time, the attention didn't feel like validation. It felt like exposure. She sighed, scrolling one last time before setting the phone down. Among thousands of angry comments, one stood out. "The real heroes are the ones who don't record, they act." She blinked, quietly closed the app, and looked around the terminal. For once, she felt something she'd never felt before: humility. Ethan's flight report took hours. Every word had to be exact. Names, times, threats, neutralization steps. He handed it in, stood, and looked out the window at the dark runway lights stretching endlessly into the horizon. "Ethan, they say heroism is just doing your job when no one else can. But these days, everyone wants a story instead of the truth." He zipped his jacket, pocketed his badge, and turned toward the terminal doors. Behind him, the TV mounted on the wall was still replaying the viral footage, his footage. But this time, the caption read, "Federal agent prevents mid-air tragedy. Investigation uncovers larger plot." Ethan stopped for just a second, watching his own face frozen on the screen. Then he whispered, "Ethan, you're welcome, Karen," and walked out into the night. Ethan Cole's face, once hidden in the shadows of anonymity, was now splashed across every social feed, every news clip, every late-night monologue. The real-life air marshal hero who stopped a mid-air attack, the brave man who saved hundreds, the mystery agent who went viral overnight. He didn't ask for any of it. Inside a small DC hotel room, he sat on the edge of the bed, TV muted, laptop open. Dozens of open tabs glowed in the dark, news articles, reaction videos, even memes of him calmly holding the bomb. One headline stood out: "Hero Marshal saves flight, thanks to passenger's viral video." He exhaled slowly. "Ethan, of course. Thanks, Karen." Meanwhile, halfway across town, Karen Brooks was enjoying her 15 minutes of fame, or trying to. She'd been interviewed on 3 talk shows, signed up for a podcast deal, and posted daily updates titled, "Life After Flight 372. At first, the comments were supportive. Then, they turned. "You endangered people for views. You nearly got everyone killed. Delete your channel." Still, she told herself it was fine. Fame was fame, right? Until the phone call started. The first one came late that night. Unknown number. No caller ID. She hesitated, then answered. "Karen, hello? You like recording things, don't you, Miss Brooks?" Her heart froze. "Karen, who is this?" Voice. "Let's just say you caught more than a hero on camera. You caught something that wasn't meant to be seen." The line went dead. She stared at her phone, the screen glowing like an accusation. Something deep inside her gut twisted. Across the city, Ethan was briefing with his superior, Agent Wells, in a sterile, dim-lit conference room. "Wells, your little viral fame's become a problem, Cole." "Ethan, tell me something I don't know." "Wells, those suspects weren't freelancers. We traced their funding to a private network, international. They think you have the evidence they lost on that flight." Ethan frowned. "Evidence?" Wells pulled up a photo on the monitor, a frame from Karen's viral video. In the blurred chaos of the takedown, behind Ethan's shoulder, a glint of metal casing was visible. A microdrive. Wells, the video caught part of a coded flash drive. They think you, or someone on that flight, has it. Ethan, let me guess. It wasn't the bomb they cared about. Wells, no. That was a distraction. Whatever's on that drive, it's big. Ethan's jaw tightened. Where's the drive now? Wells looked uneasy. That's the problem. It never turned up. The silence between them stretched. Then, Ethan said quietly, Ethan, then we need to find Karen Brooks. Karen didn't sleep that night. She replayed the call over and over, trying to convince herself it was a prank. But the next morning, when she opened her front door, a small envelope was taped to it. Inside was a single photo, a still frame from her own viral video. A red circle drawn around the same microdrive. Underneath it, 2 words were scribbled in black ink. We want it back. Her hands shook as she dropped the envelope. Karen, oh my God, what did I post? By that evening, Ethan had tracked her down. A suburban townhouse on the edge of Fairfax, curtains drawn, car still in the driveway. He knocked twice. No answer. A shadow moved behind the curtain. Ethan. Karen, it's Ethan Cole. Open the door. Karen, how do I know it's really you? Ethan, because you've been in enough trouble lately that I'm your best option. The lock clicked. The door creaked open an inch. Her face appeared. Pale, mascara smudged, fear in her eyes. Karen, they called me. They know where I live. Ethan, I know. That's why I'm here. Karen, what do they want? Ethan, something you accidentally filmed. Karen, you mean that shiny thing near your seat? Ethan, exactly that. She swallowed hard. I deleted that clip. Ethan, no, you didn't. You uploaded it at 1080p. It's in the metadata. Her voice cracked. So they think I have it. Ethan, they think one of us does. And they're not the forgiving type. As if on cue, a low rumble echoed outside. Ethan turned toward the window. A black SUV idling at the corner, lights off. Ethan, we need to move. Now. Karen backed away. Move where? Ethan, somewhere they can't find you. He grabbed her coat, shoved her phone into a Faraday pouch, and guided her toward the back door. But the moment they stepped outside, headlights flared. Karen, oh my God, Ethan, down. He pulled her behind the hedge as 2 men stepped out of the SUV, dressed in civilian clothes, but moving like professionals, slow, tactical, silent. Ethan, stay low. Don't make a sound. The men approached the front door, weapons visible under their jackets. Karen's breath came fast and shallow. Karen, they're here for the drive, aren't they? Ethan, yes. Karen, but I don't have it. Ethan, then they'll find that out the hard way. He moved like a shadow, silent, precise, a switch flipping inside him from civilian to operative. One of the men kicked open the front door. The other swept the living room, calling out softly in another language. Ethan struck fast, a low tackle from behind, a disarm, the sound of a suppressed weapon clattering on concrete. The second man spun, raised his gun. Ethan fired once. A tranquilizer dart hit the man's neck. Both dropped. Karen stood frozen, staring. Karen, you. Ethan, they'll wake up in an hour. But we'll be long gone. He grabbed the car keys from the counter, ushered her out the back again. Karen, where are we going? Ethan, somewhere safe. And next time, don't post it, live it. An hour later, they were speeding down an empty highway. The city lights faded behind them, replaced by the glow of the moon and the rhythm of tires against asphalt. Karen sat in silence, staring out the window. Karen, so this is real. Like spy movie real. Ethan, it's been real since the moment you hit upload. Karen, why me? Ethan, wrong place, right time. He glanced over, voice steady. Ethan, you wanted to go viral. Congratulations, you're now the most watched civilian witness in an ongoing federal case. She winced. I didn't mean to cause this. Ethan, intent doesn't erase impact. Silence hung between them, heavy but human. Then she said quietly, Karen, what happens now? Ethan, now? We find that drive before they do. The camera would fade out here, headlights slicing through the darkness as 2 unlikely allies disappeared down the road, the hum of danger chasing them into the night. The car sped down the empty back road, headlights carving twin tunnels through the fog. Karen sat in the passenger seat, silent now, her earlier defiance replaced with quiet guilt. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold, but from the reality that her actions had unleashed something she couldn't control. Karen, I didn't mean for this to happen. Ethan, intent doesn't stop consequences. Karen, so what now? We just drive until they give up? Ethan, they don't give up. People like that never do. The rhythmic hum of the tires filled the silence between them. Ethan's eyes stayed fixed on the road, but his mind was racing through every variable. Who funded the hijackers, what they wanted, and most importantly, why the drive was so important. An hour later, they reached an old gas station just outside of town, the kind that looked like it hadn't changed since the 70s. Ethan parked in the far corner, away from the security cameras. Karen, are we hiding here? Ethan, just refueling. He stepped out, scanning the horizon. Nothing but endless desert, telephone poles, and a flickering neon sign that buzzed like a dying bee. When he returned, Karen was scrolling through her phone. Ethan, put that away. Karen, relax. Airplane mode. Ethan, not good enough. Phones are tracking devices that make calls. Karen, you think they're that good? Ethan, I don't think. I know. He tossed her phone into the glove compartment and sealed it in the Faraday bag again. Karen, you're like a walking paranoia manual. Ethan, and still alive because of it. They drove for another half hour before pulling off onto a dirt road leading to an abandoned rest stop, one Ethan used for safe house drop points years ago. The place was quiet except for the occasional wind gust rattling the tin roof. Inside, under dim fluorescent light, Ethan unpacked a small toolkit from the car. Wire cutters, flash drives, encrypted connectors, a slimline laptop with military-grade shielding. Karen watched him, nervous but curious. Karen, you do this often? Ethan, too often. Karen, so what are we looking for exactly? Ethan, whatever's worth killing for. He inserted one of his backup decryption drives into the laptop. The screen flickered, green lines of code scrolling rapidly. Then, a beep. Ethan, got something. He tapped a few keys. The screen is filled with files labeled in Cyrillic script. Blueprints, coordinates, names, and one familiar word, Project Skyvale. Karen, what is that? Ethan, a project that shouldn't exist. He clicked open the file. Blueprints of commercial aircrafts appeared, but altered, modified, weaponized. Each file contained digital schematics for remote override systems, code that could hijack a plane's control systems from thousands of miles away. Karen, they were going to take control of the plane? Ethan, not just one plane. Every plane uses the same software update. Karen, how many is that? Ethan, about 2,000 in the air right now. She covered her mouth, horrified. Karen, that's millions of people. Ethan, exactly. And the hijackers weren't acting alone. They were field testing the system. The bomb was just a distraction. He leaned closer to the screen, scrolling through encrypted signatures at the bottom of each document. Ethan, these aren't just terrorists. This is a corporate operation. Someone with money, a lot of it. Karen stepped back, shaking her head. Karen, so all of this, me, the video, everything, it exposed them? Ethan, yes. You didn't just catch a flight incident. You leaked evidence of an international cyber weapon. She let out a nervous laugh. Oh, great. So instead of canceling culture, I get global espionage. Ethan didn't smile. Ethan, they'll try to erase every trace. Which means we have one option, go public before they silence us. But before he could upload the data, a faint ping echoed from his laptop. Incoming trace detected. He swore under his breath. Ethan, they found the signal. Karen, already? Ethan, we're not the only ones with good tech. Outside, the soft crunch of tires on gravel. Headlights swept across the window. Karen froze. Oh no. Ethan shut the laptop, grabbed his pistol, and motioned her toward the back exit. Ethan, out. Now. Karen, where are we going? Ethan, anywhere they're not. They ran through the dark, ducking behind the rusted shell of an old pickup truck as black SUVs rolled up to the rest stop. Doors opened. Armed men stepped out, scanning the area with flashlights. Ethan loaded his sidearm, whispering, Ethan, 3 on the left, 2 near the door. They'll split to the flank. Karen, you make it sound like you've done this before. Ethan, because I have. He handed her a small flashlight. Ethan, when I say go, run toward the ridge and don't look back. Karen, what about you? Ethan, I'll catch up. I always do. He rose silently, aimed, and fired 2 suppressed rounds. Perfect shots. The men dropped without sound. 2 more rushed from the SUVs. Ethan ducked behind cover, grabbed Karen's wrist, and sprinted into the night. Gunfire erupted behind them, echoing across the open desert. They didn't stop running until the glow of headlights vanished behind them. The only sounds were their ragged breaths and the chirp of distant crickets. They crouched behind a boulder, the laptop bag clutched tight against Ethan's chest. Karen looked at him, eyes wide with fear and adrenaline. Karen, is it always like this for you? Ethan, no. Usually it's worse. Karen, how can you joke right now? Ethan, because it keeps the panic quiet. She looked at him for a long moment. This man she once accused of not belonging in first class, and saw the weight behind his calm eyes. Karen, I judged you, and you still saved me. Ethan, you didn't judge me. You judged the uniform you couldn't see. He unzipped the laptop bag slightly, revealing the flash drive tucked inside. Ethan, this little piece of metal? It's the key to grounding an entire fleet. Karen, then we can't let them get it. Ethan, exactly. He stood, eyes on the horizon where faint dawn light began to paint the sky in shades of gray and gold. Ethan, we go east. I know someone who can decrypt the rest of the files off-grid. Karen, another agent? Ethan, better. A friend who owes me a favor. As the first light of morning broke over the desert, Ethan and Karen began walking along a dusty path toward a new day. Tired, battered, but alive. For the first time, Karen didn't pull out her phone. She didn't record. She didn't narrate. She just walked beside him in silence, knowing that for once, she was part of a story worth living, not filming. The rising sun stretched long shadows across the desert as Ethan's battered SUV rolled into a forgotten industrial park. Half the warehouses were rusted, windows shattered, graffiti scrawled across the walls like faded memories. Karen glanced nervously at the surroundings. Karen, this looks like where bad decisions go to die. Ethan, that's why it's perfect. He parked beside an old hangar marked with a faded number, 42B. The metal door screeched as it rolled up, revealing a cluttered space filled with humming servers, tangled wires, and a single glowing monitor casting blue light across the darkness. A figure sat behind the screen, hoodie up, headphones on, typing fast. The rhythmic clatter of keys stopped the moment Ethan stepped inside. You're late, Cole. The hacker turned. A woman in her early 30s, sharp eyes, dark hair streaked with silver, and a smirk that could cut glass. Ethan, good to see you too, Nova. Nova, you bring me trouble, or you bring me payment? Ethan, both. He tossed the flash drive onto her desk. She picked it up between 2 fingers, studying it like a relic. Nova, you know this kind of heat doesn't just vanish. Whoever's looking for this, they'll track it here. Ethan, that's why you're the best at disappearing traces. Nova, flattery won't make me faster. Encryption like this takes time. She plugged in the drive. Her eyes widened almost instantly as lines of code filled the screen. Nova, oh, this isn't small, Cole. This is defense contract level access. Who the hell did you steal from? Ethan, didn't steal. Confiscated mid-flight. Nova, confiscated? From who, God? Karen, terrorists. And corporations. Nova turned to her, eyebrow raised. And you are? Karen, apparently the reason they're after us. Nova, congratulations. You've gone from influencer to national liability. Karen frowned. Funny. Ethan, enough. What's in it, Nova? Nova leaned closer to the screen. Blueprints, security overrides, flight data logs, and something else. She paused. Cole, this drive contains an activation key. Once uploaded, it can override every autopilot system running the new Skyvale OS. Ethan, how many planes? Nova, thousands. Civilian, private, even military cargo. Karen, that's basically world domination in code. Nova, exactly. The group who built this doesn't want power. They already have it. This is control. A soft beep echoed from one of Nova's side monitors. She glanced over. Her smirk vanished. Nova, we've got company. Ethan turned sharply. How many? Nova, too many for comfort. Thermal pings, perimeter sweep already. He grabbed his weapon, checking the chamber. Ethan, Karen, stay behind cover. Karen, wait, how'd they find us so fast? Ethan, you tell me, did you really turn off your phone? Karen, I thought. Ethan, never mind. Move. He pulled her behind a steel support beam just as gunfire shattered the glass overhead. Nova ducked behind her desk, typing furiously. Nova, I can dump the data remotely, but I need 60 seconds. Ethan, you've got 30. He moved with precision, tactical, controlled, returning fire toward the shadows outside the hangar. Each muzzle flash lit his face like strobe lights in the storm of chaos. Karen covered her ears, crouched low. Karen, why are they shooting at us? Ethan, because you accidentally filmed a war, Karen. She winced. You really know how to make a girl feel better under fire. Ethan, you're alive, aren't you? Nova's fingers blurred across the keyboard. Nova, got it. Data transfer's halfway done. I'm sending copies to 4 secure nodes. One with Interpol, one with the Pentagon, one buried so deep no one can touch it. Ethan, and the 4th. Nova, insurance. You'll thank me later. Bullets punched holes through the metal wall behind them. Ethan fired back, dropping 2 silhouettes. The rest retreated momentarily, regrouping. Karen, this is insane. Ethan, welcome to real life. Then, silence. The gunfire stopped. Only the low hum of Nova's servers remained. Ethan's instincts screamed, too quiet. He turned. Nova. Before he could finish, the hangar door exploded inward. The blast threw Karen to the ground, sparks flying as debris rained from above. Smoke filled the air. From the haze, a tall man stepped forward, clean suit, calm eyes, and an unsettling smile. Man, Mr. Cole, I was hoping to avoid this. Ethan's grip tightened. Director Haynes. Karen's jaw dropped. You know him? Ethan. He runs Homeland Security's tech division. Karen. Wait. He's supposed to be one of the good guys. Haynes, smiling, good is relative. Especially when innovation meets opportunity. He stepped closer, unbothered by the gun in Ethan's hand. Haynes, that drive belongs to us. Hand it over, and maybe we pretend this was all an unfortunate misunderstanding. Ethan, Skyvale was your operation? Haynes, ours. A necessary step in global stability. Ethan, hijacking civilian aircraft is stable? Haynes, control brings peace, Ethan. Unpredictability is chaos. Nova stood, glaring. Nova, you call enslaving an entire airspace peace. Haynes, I call it the future. Ethan shook his head slowly. You built the weapon, lost it, and now you're cleaning the mess by killing witnesses. Haynes smiled faintly. Haynes, every revolution has casualties. He gestured. 2 soldiers stepped forward. Ethan fired first. The hangar erupted into chaos again. Gunfire, sparks, smoke. Nova hit the upload command. It's done, she shouted. All data mirrored. Haynes turned toward her. Then you've signed your death warrant. A sharp flash. A bullet grazed Nova's shoulder. She stumbled, but stayed upright. Ethan pulled Karen toward the exit as alarms blared across the complex. Karen, we can't leave her. Ethan, she's right behind us. Nova tossed Ethan a small flash drive, identical to the original. Nova, backup key. Run. Ethan caught it and pulled Karen through the shattered doorway. They sprinted toward the car as explosions rocked the hangar behind them. Flames roared, reflecting off their faces as they dove into the SUV. Ethan gunned the engine, gravel flying, fire lighting up the rearview mirror. Karen looked back, horrified. Karen, Nova. Ethan gritted, she knew the risks. But her upload will expose everything. Minutes later, as they sped down the desert highway again, Karen sat trembling. Karen, that man, Haynes, he's the one behind it all. Ethan, he's not the only one. But he's the reason we can't stop now. Karen, so what happens next? Ethan, we finish what Nova started. We show the world the truth. Karen looked at him, tired, scared, but resolute. Karen, then let's do it. Ethan glanced at her and gave the faintest of smiles. Ethan, you're learning fast. As the SUV disappeared into the horizon, the sky blazed red, not from sunset, but from the burning hangar miles behind them. Somewhere deep underground, an encrypted upload bar reached 100%, and a new headline began forming across the world's news feeds. Government Air Marshal exposes secret global control program. Leaks point to high-level corruption. The truth was finally out. But for Ethan Cole and Karen Brooks, this was only the beginning. Every major news outlet, every social feed, every talk show, all running the same headline. Global Control Program exposed. Federal Air Marshal leaks classified files. Ethan's face was everywhere. His photo, his name, his voice leaked comms during the flight. Reporters called him the whistleblower of the skies. Government officials called him a rogue operative. And Ethan Cole, the man who had saved hundreds of lives, was now officially wanted. The SUV rolled down a quiet road near the outskirts of Denver. Karen sat beside him, phone in her lap, watching the storm of media unfold in real time. Karen, they're calling you a traitor. Ethan, that's how the truth always starts. Karen, and me? I'm trending too. Hashtag Karen leaks. Ethan, could be worse. Karen, yeah, I could be dead. They stopped near an old motel, half the sign missing, flickering, open, in broken neon. Ethan stepped out first, scanning the area. He was wired, tense, every sound making his hand twitch near his holster. Karen, do you ever relax? Ethan, when I'm dead. Karen, inspirational. They checked into the motel under fake names. Room 12, back corner, no cameras. Inside, Ethan turned on the TV, muted the volume, and pulled up Nova's final transmission from the night before she vanished. Her recorded voice echoed faintly through static. Nova, if you're seeing this, they've already found me. Skyvale wasn't just a flight control system. It's a backdoor into everything. Traffic grids, satellites, even civilian networks. It's a total surveillance framework disguised as safety. Karen's face went pale. Karen, so it's not just planes. Ethan, no. It's everyone. Nova's final words sent a chill through the room. Nova. And the order came from the very top. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, elbows on his knees, deep in thought. Karen, what are you thinking? Ethan, that the moment we leak the final proof, they'll come for us with everything they've got. Karen, then what are we waiting for? Ethan, timing. If we drop it too soon, it dies in the noise. We wait until they deny it. Then we bury them with evidence. Karen watched him. Karen, you talk like someone who's done this before. Ethan, because I have. Different wars. Same liars. She hesitated, then said quietly, Karen, I used to think you were just cold. But now, I think you're scared. Ethan, I'm not scared of me. He looked up, and for the first time, his eyes showed it. The weight of everything. The fear that no matter what they exposed, it might not matter. Suddenly, the motel lights flickered. A low hum filled the air. Ethan's instincts kicked in instantly. He drew his gun. They're here. Karen froze. What? How? Ethan, they pinged the motel's power grid. We've been traced. Outside, the faint roar of approaching vehicles grew louder. SUVs, at least 4. Red and blue strobes flashed through the curtains. Karen, it's the FBI. Ethan, no. Look at the lights. No sirens. It's them. He tossed her a small flash drive. Ethan, backup copy. Keep it hidden. Karen, where? Ethan, anywhere but with me. She shoved it into her boot, heart pounding. Karen, what about you? Ethan, I'll draw them away. Karen, are you insane? Ethan, probably, but it's what I do best. Before she could argue, he kicked open the back window, motioned for her to run. The sound of doors slamming echoed outside. Boots crunching gravel. Voices in the dark. Ethan slipped through the side alley, gun ready. 2 men rounded the corner. He dropped them before they saw him. Another car pulled up near the dumpsters. Inside, silhouettes moved. Ethan crouched low, using the broken motel sign as cover. Then, a familiar voice through a bullhorn. Haynes, Ethan Cole, you are surrounded. Surrender now, and we might let your friend live. Ethan gritted his teeth. Ethan, you really don't know when to quit. He peered back toward the room. Karen was gone. Good. She listened. He fired twice, shattering a streetlight, plunging the parking lot into near darkness. Then he ran. Karen sprinted through the empty backlots, lungs burning, clutching her boot where the drive was hidden. Her mind raced. Don't stop. Don't think. Just move. Behind her, the night erupted with gunfire. She looked back once, saw Ethan trading shots, ducking behind a burning car, smoke curling around him like a ghost. Karen, please make it. She reached the end of the block, a drainage tunnel running under the freeway. Without thinking, she climbed down and slipped inside, the sound of pursuit echoing faintly behind her. Back at the motel, Ethan was running out of ammo. The air stank of gasoline and smoke. He ducked behind cover, bleeding from a graze on his arm. Ethan, you won't win, Haynes. Haynes, I already have. The upload's been scrubbed. Your hacker's dead. Your story dies with you. Ethan pressed the earpiece in his ear. Nova, if you're still out there, static. Then, faintly, her voice. Nova, I don't die that easy. Ethan's eyes widened. Ethan, you're alive. Nova, barely. But the file's safe. You just have to buy time. He smiled grimly. Time I can handle. He kicked open the emergency exit, dove through, rolled, and fired a flare into the sky, bright red against the darkness. The flare's light reflected off a passing police chopper overhead. Haynes' men froze. Ethan looked up. The cavalry was coming. Ethan, this is Federal Air Marshal Ethan Cole. Suspects in pursuit of classified evidence. Open jurisdiction. The helicopter's spotlight turned on, bathing the parking lot in white light. For the first time, Haynes looked uneasy. Haynes, fall back. Now, his men retreated, disappearing into the night. Ethan staggered to his feet, limping toward the burning motel, adrenaline keeping him upright. He looked up at the sky, the rotor whipping through his hair. For once, the sound didn't feel threatening. It sounded like survival. An hour later, Ethan sat in an ambulance, his arm wrapped in gauze. Police lights painted the night red and blue. A young officer handed him a phone. Officer, someone's asking for you, sir. Ethan took it. Yeah. Voice, Karen, you made it. Ethan, smiling faintly, so did you. Karen, I still have the drive. Ethan, good. Keep it that way. Karen, where do we go now? Ethan, somewhere they can't find us, yet. He hung up, staring out at the horizon. The motel was still burning, but the fire reflected in his eyes wasn't destruction. It was resolved. Ethan, they can call me a traitor, a criminal, a ghost, but I know the truth, and the truth doesn't die easy. Cut to a wide aerial shot, the rising dawn over the smoldering wreckage. Sirens fading in the distance. Karen walks alone down an empty street, wind tugging her hair, clutching the flash drive in her hand like it's the only thing tethering her to reality. She looks up, a new day, a dangerous one, but one worth fighting for. A cold wind pushed through Washington, D.C. as the city buzzed with the noise of a story too big to contain. Screens in cafes, airports, and train stations all flashed the same banner. Project Skyvale exposed, high-ranking officials under federal investigation. Every image showed documents, emails, and flight footage, all leaked from one anonymous source. That source was Karen Reed. And though no one said his name, every headline whispered it. Ethan Cole, the ghost who brought down the system. Inside a dim motel room on the edge of Maryland, Ethan sat at a small table, a cup of black coffee steaming beside him. His arm was healed, but the scar still burned like memory. On the TV, a reporter's voice cut through the static. Federal agents confirm former Air Marshal Ethan Cole acted on direct orders from a secret program later declared unconstitutional. He turned off the screen. For him, the noise didn't matter anymore. Karen entered, her hair tied back, the same fire in her eyes that once made her impossible to ignore. Karen, you should see this. They're indicting Haynes. Ethan, they'll replace him by next week. Karen, maybe. But at least now they'll think twice before calling someone like you the villain. She placed a folder on the table. Inside, a single document. Full reinstatement. Ethan Cole, Federal Air Marshal. Ethan blinked. They reinstated me? Karen smiled. The president himself signed it. You're officially cleared. He looked down at the paper for a long moment, the weight of it sinking in. Ethan, I don't want the badge back. Karen, then what do you want? Ethan, peace. That night, Karen uploaded the final part of Nova's recording to the public archive, unedited, untouched. Her voice filled every major network. This isn't just about control. It's about accountability. Technology without conscience will always turn against the people it swore to protect. It became the most viewed clip of the decade. Thousands protested. Hundreds resigned. And a movement was born, one that called themselves the Open Sky Collective. Ethan watched the live stream quietly, a faint smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Karen, You could join them, you know. Ethan, I'm not a symbol. Karen, you already are. Whether you like it or not. He looked at her, really looked. The woman who once insulted him in first class now standing beside him as a partner in truth. Ethan, funny. You used to think people like me didn't belong up front. She chuckled softly. Karen, guess I was wrong about a lot of things. Ethan, yeah, but you fixed it. 2 weeks later, Ethan walked into a congressional hearing room. Reporters filled every seat. Camera shutters flickered like gunfire. Senator Murray, chairing the committee, cleared his throat. Mr. Cole, the country owes you an apology. You upheld your oath when others forgot theirs. Ethan nodded. I didn't do it for applause, sir. I did it because the truth doesn't belong behind classified walls. Applause erupted from the audience, spontaneous, raw. Karen stood in the back, eyes shining. Outside, a group of kids held cardboard signs. Truth flies first class. A commercial plane cruised smoothly through blue skies. Ethan sat in seat 2A, window down, sunlight on his face. Across the aisle, Karen read a paperback titled Sky Veil, The Inside Story. The flight attendant stopped beside them. Can I get you two anything? Karen grinned. Just water. He's off duty today. The attendant nodded, not realizing who he really was. Ethan turned to her. Ethan, funny, isn't it? After all that, I'm back in first class. Karen, and no one's complaining this time. Ethan, except maybe the snakes in Congress. They both laughed, the kind of laugh that comes after surviving something impossible. Outside the window, clouds drifted like waves. For the first time in years, Ethan let himself breathe. When they landed, news awaited them again. But this time, it was different. Heroes of the Sky, whistleblower program reformed in their honor. Their names weren't dragged through dirt anymore. They were engraved into policy. At a small press conference, Ethan stepped up to the mic. This isn't about me. Or Karen. It's about every person told to stay quiet when they knew something was wrong. Sometimes the loudest courage is silence broken at the right moment. The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Cameras flashed like fireworks. Karen looked at him from the side of the stage, tears threatening to fall, but pride holding them back. Afterward, as they walked away from the flashing lights, she nudged him. Karen, so what now, Marshal Cole? Ethan, now? We disappear. Karen, disappear where? Ethan, anywhere the sky's still honest. They climbed into an old Jeep, top down, the city lights fading behind them. The radio played a quiet jazz tune, one that sounded like peace. Ethan's hand brushed the worn badge in his pocket. He smiled faintly, then let it go, tossed it into the glove box, closing it softly. Ethan, Dad once told me the sky isn't owned by anyone. It's freedom. Maybe he was right. Maybe it's time to fly without permission.